Hello, hello, hello. Hello. Welcome to Unfiltered Thoughts. Welcome to Unfiltered Thoughts, brought to you by Legend. But of course, as always, you can call me Zandi Lemakubane. Today, we're continuing an unfiltered thought from a previous video that we've done, a video on the 3 missing police officers who were later on found passed away / dead at the Hennops River in Centurion near the N1, and their vehicle was also found there. I have questions about this case. Yes, on the previous video that I covered, it was just a storyline of what happened or where they were going. Initially, we know that they were traveling from the Free State to Limpopo. Then something happened. They were untrackable anymore. Then there were questions of where are they? So they were then missing. Then they were investigated. Eventually, they were found. Clues led to the Hennops River, which is where they found their 3 dead bodies and an additional 2 other bodies and the vehicle that the 3 police officers were traveling in when they were on their way to Limpopo from the Free State. They were buried last week, between the 8th and the 10th of May. But I have questions. First, we were hoping that they may be found alive. But now that they're found and they've passed away, there's just more questions that may be even more difficult to unanswer. What? To unanswer? That may be more difficult to answer. Yes, there you go. The first question I have is, what happened for them to go missing? How did they go missing? Was it a random kidnapping / hijacking? Then they realized it's police officers and they decided that, okay, it's too late to now let them go because these are cops. Let's kill them. But then if they were hijacked, what were they hijacked for? Because clearly it wasn't for the car, because they found the car in the river along with the 3 dead police officers. So how did they go missing? Maybe it had nothing to do with the hijacking. Maybe it had to do with the investigation that they were conducting, the #Vulumgodi investigation that they were conducting that had to do with stopping illegal mining across various hotspots in South Africa, where people who were conducting illegal minings and were benefiting from this angry that now they're being investigated and they possibly will be stopped from making their own means of an income. Was this a cover-up? Is somebody within the police or law enforcement of South Africa part of all of this? Or is this a cover-up that they tried to eliminate them because of incriminating evidence for other particular reasons? There's a lot of questions for me with how did they go missing in the first place. Another question I have is, how did they end up in the river? I don't know how the river is structured as it runs along the N1 Centurion. But however way it is structured, I think if they had fallen into the river from the highway, they would have been found sooner. Chances are alive, because highways are always busy. They would have been seen. So definitely, I'm sure that they did not off-ramp into the river. So then the question is, how did they end up in the river? Were they dumped a few meters, a few miles, a few kilometers ahead? Because the river runs a longer distance than just along the N1 highway. So were they dropped a further distance from the highway and then they happened to just wash up closer towards the highway with time and with currents flowing and whatnot? Also the vehicle, as well as that, why was it in the river too? Clearly, whoever it is, that I'm now speculating that it's a person who caused all of this, but clearly whatever it is that resulted in them ending up in the river had nothing to do with the car. I keep on emphasizing the car thing because it was a brand new car that they were traveling in. VW, a sought out vehicle in car stealings in South Africa. If their bodies were dumped in the river, then where were they before that? And then the question continues, why were they there? And there's a question of, how did they die? Were they murdered? Because all 3 of them passed away. Were they murdered? By who? For what reason? there's more unanswered questions. It's a relief that they were found, but then there's like more unanswered questions. Why? How did they end up in the river? Were they murdered? If all three of them were not alive, chances are, if this involves another person, they were murdered. I'm finding it difficult to believe that they may have been involved in a car accident and somebody tried to cover it up, even though the car does look damaged. I don't know if it may be damaged because it was dumped in the river and maybe the currents and it moving along. That must have been one deep river, hey, because it hit an entire car. So was maybe the car damaged as it traveled with the currents of the river, or maybe they were involved in an accident because the car was damaged pretty bad. It's very weird. There were 3 bodies and 2 additional other bodies found. Were those, they were eventually identified. One of the bodies is another constable from a different station though, and the other body was an unidentified white man. Were these 2 somehow linked to their death? Is it a coincidence that these bodies were found along with the 3 others? Or like had those bodies been there initially and now that the police were searching in this particular area they found these other bodies? Or are these connected to the dead officers? Did they play a role in some way? Were they connected? There's a lot of unanswered questions that I think. I don't know what you think. Let me know in the comments. Let me know in the comments. Let me know what you think could have happened. Is this an open and shut case that okay, they were missing, they were found, they found dead, finished and cloud? Or do you think the South African Police Service should be investigating more into this to figure out what happened to these public servants? Because they were public servants who were protecting us in one way or another. And like one of the family members said, that if this was your child, you'd want them to be found, most likely alive. So, do you think this should be investigated even further? Better yet, what are your speculations on the matter? What do you think happened to the officers? Yeah. And what other information do you have that was not covered on the channel? I think that would be nice to know as well. So, what additional information? Maybe you're a close relative or you're a friend, a colleague, or somebody who heard more information about this case and it was not case. It's not a case about this particular event, about this particular story that was not covered in this channel. Comment, like, share, subscribe. Please share in the comments. I look forward to engaging with you in the comment section.